Good evening and welcome to NTD UK News. I'm Stuart Lees and here are today's top stories. Health Secretary Matt Hancock says allegations made by the Prime Minister's former advisor, Dominic Cummings, are not true. Ride-hailing company Uber is making a deal with a trade union over drivers' rights. And France is going to impose compulsory quarantine on visitors from the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Health Secretary Matt Hancock have defended themselves following the extraordinary allegations made by Dominic Cummings, the Prime Minister's former top advisor.
Thursday's front pages are filled with Dominic Cummings' bombshell allegations against the government's handling of the CCP virus pandemic. He told MPs on Wednesday that the government had failed the public during the CCP virus pandemic, causing thousands of people to die unnecessarily. He said his former boss is unfit to be Prime Minister, and the Health Secretary should have been fired for lying on multiple occasions. In the House of Commons on Thursday, the Labour Party demanded answers.
Families loved lost ones and have been let down by this government, this Prime Minister and this Health Secretary. But the truth matters. These families and the country deserve clear answers from the Health Secretary and the Prime Minister today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In response, Hancock said the allegations were unsubstantiated and were not true.
That these unsubstantiated allegations around honesty are not true, and that I've been straight with people in public and in private throughout. Every day since I began working on the response to this pandemic last January, I've got up each morning and asked, what must I do to protect life? That is the job of a health secretary in a pandemic.
Visiting the Colchester Hospital on Thursday, Boris Johnson also faced difficult questions.
Prime Minister, did tens of thousands of people die who need not have died because of your action or inaction?
No, I don't think so, but of course this has been an incredibly difficult series of decisions, none of which we've taken lightly.
Downing Street also denied Cummings' allegations that Johnson was obsessed with the media and that his fiancée, Carrie Symonds, had tried to get jobs for her friends. Despite these attempts at damage control, it is clear that the public fallout between the Prime Minister and his former right-hand man will continue to make waves.
Ride-hailing company Uber is making a deal with a union to negotiate the rights of its workforce. The agreement is expected to boost the collective bargaining power of its 70,000 drivers. NTD's Neil Woodrow has the news.
Uber drivers have received another boost to their working conditions with this groundbreaking deal with the GMB union. In a statement, Uber says that meetings will take place quarterly between the two sides, working on matters such as pay, pensions and security. Under the terms, drivers will be able to retain their ability to choose if, when and where they drive. Uber's Northern and Eastern Europe boss Jamie Hayward said, whilst Uber and GMB may not seem like obvious allies, we've always agreed that drivers must come first. And today we have struck this important deal to improve workers' protections. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court dismissed Uber's appeal against the landmark employment tribunal ruling that its drivers should be classed as workers with minimum wage and holiday pay. Neil Woodrow, NTD News, Westminster, London.
France joined Germany and Austria in imposing stricter rules on visiting Brits. It creates a north-south divide in Europe after Portugal, Spain, Greece and Italy already opened their doors to UK tourists.
France is set to impose a mandatory quarantine on visitors from the UK to prevent the spread of the Indian variant. Those who fail to isolate will face a fine starting at €1,000. The move follows decisions by Germany and Austria to ban non-essential travel from the UK due to concerns about the Indian variant.
Germany has announced in the last hours or days additional measures, especially in terms of self-isolation for people who are arriving from the United Kingdom. and that France will take similar measures and put in place mandatory self-isolation for people arriving from the United Kingdom.
A French junior minister said on Twitter the isolation will last 7 days and is expected to come into force on Monday. The French government's announcement will be a blow to its beleaguered tourism industry, which is desperate for a return to normal ahead of the peak summer season. The French policy is in conflict with a recent European Commission proposal to allow fully vaccinated people to enter the bloc. It creates a north-south divide in Europe after Portugal, Spain, Greece and Italy opened their doors to UK tourists. However, Portugal is the only one of these that is on the UK's quarantine-free green list.
A report says the company behind HS2 failed to properly communicate with a homeowner whose property had to be sold to make way for the proposed railway. An investigation by the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman found that HS2 misled the homeowner, causing them severe stress and worry for over 4 years. Ombudsman Rob Behrens says the company failed to respond fully and promptly to the homeowner's questions and sometimes gave them incorrect information. The homeowner lived on the planned route between London and Birmingham. HS2 is a new high-speed railway linking up London, the Midlands, the North and Scotland. And in other news, Brexit Britain could be landing a major manufacturing coup. Nissan is planning to build its biggest electric vehicle plant outside of Japan, in Sunderland. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the story.
Nissan is having advanced talks with the government to build an electric car battery gigafactory in Sunderland. The Telegraph reports the Japanese company is believed to be in negotiations with ministers to get support for the plant. The site would be Nissan's biggest EV operation outside of Japan. If it goes ahead, it will be a vote of confidence for manufacturing in post-Brexit Britain. Prior to the Brexit trade deal being struck, Nissan said it could be winding down its UK operations. But after the deal was made, Nissan CEO Ashwani Gupta said Brexit for Nissan is a positive, adding Brexit gives us competitive advantage in the UK and outside. The Telegraph reports MPs in the North East are looking to make the region an EV hub. They've sent a letter to Elon Musk to try and lure Tesla to the area. Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
The Turkish president says a series of severe allegations made against members of his party by a fugitive mob boss were a plot against Turkey. Opposition parties are calling for an investigation. A convicted mob boss has become an unusual YouTube sensation in Turkey.
A convicted mob boss has become an unusual YouTube sensation in Turkey.
I swear you will be defeated. You will be defeated by a camera and a tripod.
Over 50 million people have tuned in to watch him make allegations of corruption, a murder cover-up and drug running against politicians of Turkey's ruling party. He claims that there are close ties between the senior officials and the underworld. This PR specialist has been glued to the screen. She says things should change as a result of his allegations.
It's not every day that you have a mafia boss talk about the state and possible organized crime. Any country that goes through this would have to have a discussion. Like, it's not a normal topic you just forget.
Pekka's main target is Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu. The crime boss claims he had a close relationship with Soylu. The minister allegedly warned him about an investigation into his group. Soylu says he's been targeted because of his fight against organised crime. He has denied the allegations and filed a criminal complaint against Pekka. Some Turks see the videos as an embarrassment for President Tayyip Erdogan's government, which says it successfully broke ties between the state and the underworld. Erdogan on Wednesday called the allegations a plot against the whole country.
We are chasing members of criminal gangs no matter where in the world they run to. We will not stop the chase until we bring these criminals to our country and hand them over to the law.
Pekka has served several sentences in Turkey. He says he's now in Dubai. The mob boss used to support Erdogan. Pekka says that he was forced to speak out after his family was allegedly mistreated during a police raid on their home. Opposition parties call for an investigation into his claims.
In France, people are speaking out against the mask mandate for children. Experts are concerned that it is not an effective health intervention and that more children are showing signs of mental health issues. NTD's David Vives talks to a lawyer and a psychiatrist who are trying to change this.
The French Academy of Medicine on Wednesday stated its support for mandatory vaccination of children. While the National Health Authority hasn't advocated for this yet, another measure continues to raise questions: the mandatory wearing of masks by children. In the words of this psychiatrist, students between 7 to 11 years old have showed very concerning signs of mental health issues due to the mandatory measures, including mask wearing.
Children between 7 to 11 usually make friends and are in the process of learning at school. We are seeing more of them who are not able to learn, memorize, and they're also experiencing somatization. They haven't seen the face of their teacher for months. A part of their humanity seems to have gone.
French health authorities based their mask policy on WHO guidelines, which recommends children over 5 years old to wear masks while considering certain factors. But after 7 months of mandatory masking for children, some questions of its effectiveness remain unanswered. Lawyer Clarisse Sand addressed the Council of State, the highest court in France, with a legal request to remove the mandatory wearing of masks for children. She said she has medical evidence that shows masks harm children at some extent.
About children's wear of masks, we have 1 year of hindsight and study conducted by psychiatrists and parents, doctors, epidemiologists. They disagree with this mandatory act.
But she said the Council of State declined her request on May 25th. The Council quoted the WHO terms to justify its decision to impose the wearing of masks on children. In other words, it's not even possible to debate the merits of the measure.
The Council of State just replied to us saying that's what the WHO advised, and that's the end of it. So eventually we will bring in new elements, but the debate was never open in the first place.
She also said the decision of the government has not been backed by any study since the moment the mask mandate was imposed on children. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
During the pandemic, the Scouts saw a sharp drop in volunteer numbers. They are now recruiting more adults to help prepare young people with skills for life.
The Scouts want to recruit more adult volunteers after losing more than 15,000 during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Good For You campaign is seeking to recruit at least 5,000 volunteers. Adult volunteer numbers fell from nearly 160,000 in 2020 to 140,000 this year, and youth membership dropped by a quarter over the past year to 360,000. The Scouts say the numbers are an indicator of how pressures and disruptions to life has affected youth members. They add it is especially the case in communities disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. The campaign also invites young people and adults who drifted away during the pandemic to rejoin. There are more than 31 million Scouts in 216 countries and territories worldwide. Their aim is to prepare young people with skills for life.
Still to come, 3 people were arrested over Sunday's cable car crash in Italy after police revealed the emergency brake was deactivated. That and more when we return.